I never thought my profession would make me an outcast in my own family. At 32, I built a successful plumbing business from nothing while helping fund my sister Amanda's law school education. That all changed last Christmas when they excluded me from family photos and asked me to use the service entrance because of my blue-collar job. Their betrayal cut deep. So I cut off the money. I had no idea how much better life would be without their judgment. Let me know where you are watching this from in the comments below. If you have ever dealt with family who look down on your career choices, hit that like and subscribe button. This story might help you see that sometimes setting boundaries is the best gift you can give yourself. Growing up in suburban Boston, my family life revolved around academic achievement. My parents, Richard and Margaret, both worked as college professors, who measured success solely by degrees and scholarly publications. Our dinner conversations centered around intellectual pursuits, and from an early age we understood that education was the only acceptable path to respectability. My sister Amanda was the perfect child in their eyes. 4 years younger than me, she brought home straight A report cards, joined the debate team, and declared her intention to become a lawyer by the time she was 12. My parents beamed with pride at every academic awards ceremony, already envisioning her future arguments before the Supreme Court. I was different. While I maintained decent grades, what really captured my interest were practical hands-on projects. By 14, I was the neighborhood go-to-person for fixing bikes, repairing fence gates, and helping with simple household problems. My bedroom shelves displayed, disassembled, and rebuilt electronics instead of academic trophies. In high school, I found refuge in the vocational classes. Mr. Jenkins, the shop teacher, quickly became my mentor. Unlike my parents, he saw genuine talent in my ability to understand mechanical systems. Benson, he told me during my junior year, some people solve problems with words and theories. Others solve them with tools and ingenuity. Both are equally valuable. Those words sustained me when I announced my decision to pursue vocational training instead of college. The disappointment in my parents' eyes was unmistakable. My father scoffed, calling it a waste of potential, while my mother worried what she would tell her colleagues about her son's career choice. At 19, I began my apprenticeship under Frank Sullivan, a veteran plumber with 30 years of experience. Frank taught me not just the technical aspects of the trade, but the human side too. People respect honesty and competence, he would say, as we drove between jobs. Show up when you say you will charge what you quote, and do quality work. The rest takes care of itself. For 8 years I worked tirelessly, taking every emergency call, weekend job, and complex project that came my way. I lived frugally in a tiny apartment, saving every extra dollar toward my dream of independence. My parents saw my career as a disappointment, but I was building something real, learning skills that would last a lifetime. At 27, I took the leap and opened Benson's Reliable Plumbing. The early days were challenging, working 16-hour days, handling both the technical work and the business side. Gradually, my reputation for quality and fairness spread. One satisfied customer led to 3 more, and soon I had enough regular clients to hire my first employee. Throughout those building years, my family remained coldly supportive at best. Holiday gatherings meant enduring questions about when I might go back to school for a real career, or comments about how smart people were succeeding in professional fields. I weathered these remarks, hoping that eventually my success would speak for itself. 2 years ago, Amanda called me with news that she had been accepted to an expensive private law school. The excitement in her voice reminded me of our childhood before career choices had divided us. When she hesitantly mentioned the high tuition costs, I surprised myself by offering to help. Perhaps this was my chance to rebuild our relationship and finally earn some respect from my family. We agreed that I would contribute $2,000 monthly toward her education. It was a significant amount, but by then my business was thriving, and I could manage it. More importantly, I thought this financial support would finally prove to my family that my blue-collar career had genuine value. For 2 years, I faithfully sent the money, even when it meant postponing some of my own business expansion plans. Amanda would call occasionally with updates about her classes and internship opportunities. Our conversations remained superficial, but I cherished this small reconnection. As this past Christmas approached, I felt genuinely optimistic. My business had its best year yet, and I was supporting Amanda's dream. Surely now my family would see that I had built something worthwhile. I purchased thoughtful gifts for everyone, and even ordered a specialty dessert from an acclaimed local bakery. For once, I looked forward to our family gathering, believing that the years of dismissal were behind us. I arrived at my parents' house on Christmas Eve, the truck filled with carefully wrapped gifts, and the gourmet chocolate hazelnut torte balanced carefully on the passenger seat. The first sign that something was off came immediately when my father opened the door and glanced past me to the company vehicle in the driveway. "Nice truck," he said with the faintest hint of a smirk. "Business must be good. In the plumbing world." I brushed off his tone and entered the warm house filled with holiday decorations. My mother greeted me with a quick hug before immediately turning her attention back to the kitchen preparations. I placed my gifts under the tree and offered to help with dinner. "No, no," my mother insisted. "We would not want you to get those working hands dirty in my kitchen." I laughed it off, though the comment stung. In the living room, I found Amanda chatting with a tall, polished-looking man in a cashmere sweater. "Benson, this is Tyler," she introduced without getting up. "He is in his 3rd year of law school. We met during a moot court competition." Tyler extended his hand with obvious reluctance. "Amanda mentioned you work with pipes or something." "I own a plumbing company," I corrected him. "We handle residential and commercial contracts throughout the metro area." "Interesting career choice," he replied in a tone that suggested it was anything but interesting. "Must be nice not having to deal with the stress of exams and professional expectations." Before I could respond, Amanda jumped in. "Tyler just accepted an offer to clerk for a federal judge next summer. Very competitive position." The conversation continued in this vein, with every mention of my business redirected toward Tyler's academic achievements or Amanda's law school successes. I tried several times to explain the complex commercial project I had recently completed for a downtown office building, but no one seemed interested. As we moved to the dining room for dinner, I overheard Amanda speaking quietly to Tyler near the hallway. I paused out of sight. "Just wait until you meet the rest of the family tomorrow," she said. "They are all successful professionals. Dad is the youngest of 3 brothers, all PhDs. Mom has 2 sisters who are both doctors." "What about your brother?" Tyler asked. "Is he the family anomaly?" Amanda laughed. "We try not to make a big deal about his working-class job. Tomorrow will be tricky, though. We have not exactly highlighted his career choice to the extended family." I felt my stomach tighten as Tyler chuckled. "At least he can fix the toilet if it breaks." During dinner, the conversation centered entirely around academic accomplishments. My father discussed his department's recent publication, my mother talked about her research grant, and Amanda detailed her law review article. When I mentioned signing 3 new commercial maintenance contracts, my mother quickly changed the subject. "Amanda, have you told Benson about your summer associateship prospects? Several top firms are interested." The real blow came when my father cleared his throat and addressed me directly. "Benson, about tomorrow's extended family gathering. We have invited just the college graduates for the main event. Given Uncle Robert's recent appointment as department chair and Aunt Susan's medical fellowship, we want to keep conversation elevated." I stared at him, unsure I had heard correctly. "Are you saying I am not invited to Christmas Day with the family?" My mother jumped in, her voice syrupy. "Of course you can come, just perhaps after the formal gathering. Actually, Uncle James mentioned having some issue with his guest bathroom. Perhaps you could take a look. You can use the side entrance, so you will not disturb the main party," Amanda added helpfully. "The service entrance is closer to the bathrooms anyway." I sat in stunned silence as they continued discussing the next day's plans. They would take family photos at 11, followed by a champagne toast, to celebrate various academic and professional achievements from the year. I was expected to arrive after 1 through the side door with my tools. After dinner, as I helped clear dishes despite my mother's protest about my work hands touching her fine china, Amanda cornered me by the kitchen. "Benson, I hate to ask, but is there any way I could get next month's tuition money early? Tyler and I might go to his parents' ski lodge for New Year's, and I need to buy some appropriate clothes." The casual request after an evening of humiliation was too much. I mumbled something non-committal and retreated to my old bedroom, lying awake most of the night. Christmas morning, I received a text from Amanda Family Photos at 11. Come after 1230, so we are finished. Bring your plunger for Uncle James. I stared at my phone for a long time. Then I quietly packed my bags, left my gifts under the tree, and drove home alone on Christmas Day. The beautiful torte remained in their refrigerator untouched. New Year's Eve found me sitting alone in my apartment, a half-empty glass of whiskey in my hand as the television counted down to midnight in Times Square. The festive crowds on screen only heightened my sense of isolation. I had ignored 6 calls from Amanda and 3 from my parents since walking out on Christmas morning. As I sat there, memories of past family gatherings floated through my mind. 3 years ago at my cousin's wedding, my mother had introduced me to her friends as still finding his path despite my business being 2 years old already. At Thanksgiving the previous year, my father had loudly wondered whether trade schools should count when discussing educational institutions at the dinner table. Last summer at a family barbecue, Amanda had asked me to park my work truck down the street so her law school friends would not get the wrong idea about her family. I had accepted these small humiliations for years, believing that eventually my success would change their perception. The Christmas exclusion had finally shown me the painful truth in their eyes. I would always be less than because of my career choice. The following week, I met Frank, my old mentor, for coffee. Now semi-retired, he listened patiently as I poured out the story of Christmas and my years of funding Amanda's education. "Benson," he said, "when I finished, I have known you since you were a teenager. You have built a business that employs 3 people full-time, provides an essential service to the community, and allows you to live comfortably. When did you start believing that was not enough?" His words hit me hard. I had spent so many years seeking validation from people who were constitutionally incapable of giving it. The next day, I met with my accountant for our quarterly review. When we went over my personal expenditures, the total amount I had given Amanda stood out starkly: $48,000 over 2 years. "That is a significant investment," my accountant commented. "Is this a loan or a gift for tax purposes?" The question hung in the air. What exactly was I getting for this investment besides continued disrespect? That evening, Amanda called again, her tone sharp with annoyance. "Where is January's tuition money?" "It was due yesterday." "I have called you repeatedly. No hello. No acknowledgement of Christmas, no concern for why I had left early. Just a demand for money." "I am reconsidering our arrangement," I said carefully. "What does that mean?" Her voice rose immediately. "You cannot just change things now. I am counting on that money." "Amanda, do you remember what happened on Christmas Eve? How I was explicitly excluded from the family gathering because of my career?" There was a pause before she replied dismissively. "Do not be so sensitive. You know how Mom and Dad are about appearances. It is not personal. It felt pretty personal when I was told to use the service entrance." "Well," she said with an uncomfortable laugh, "you have to admit, it would be weird telling everyone my brother is just a handyman." Her words felt like a physical blow. "Just a handyman. I own a successful business with multiple employees and commercial contracts." "You know what I mean," she backpedaled. "In our family's social circles, certain careers have more status." The conversation deteriorated from there. Amanda grew increasingly desperate as she realized the money might actually stop alternating between guilt trips and outright demands. When those tactics failed, she called our parents. My father's call came an hour later, his professorial voice stern with disapproval. "Your sister tells me you are threatening to renege on your commitment to her education. I am reevaluating whether I should continue supporting someone who is ashamed to acknowledge my career." "This is about your wounded pride," he scoffed. "Amanda is pursuing a real professional career that will bring credit to this family, your occupation. While adequate for your needs, hardly compares to the importance of her law degree." Something in me snapped at the word adequate. "My occupation pays enough to fund her education," I pointed out. "If my career is so insignificant, why does she need my insignificant money?" This led to a revealing conversation where I discovered my parents had misrepresented their financial situation. They owned a vacation property they had never mentioned and had recently purchased a luxury car. Their claims of being unable to help Amanda with tuition were significantly exaggerated. Even more disturbing was what I learned from a mutual friend the next day. Amanda had been posting pictures on social media of weekend trips to New York, expensive restaurant meals, and designer purchases, all while claiming financial hardship to justify my monthly contributions. After a sleepless night, I made my decision. I drafted a letter to Amanda, had it notarized, and sent it via certified mail. The letter clearly stated that effective immediately, I would no longer be providing financial support for her education. I explained my reasons: the persistent disrespect, the Christmas exclusion, and the discovery that my contributions had been partially used for luxury expenses rather than education. The decision lifted an emotional burden I had not realized I was carrying. For the first time in years, I felt free of the obligation to prove my worth to people who would never see it. With the money I had been sending Amanda, I accelerated my business expansion plans. I purchased new equipment, took on 2 apprentice plumbers, and invested in marketing to attract more commercial clients. I was no longer putting my dreams on hold to fund someone else's. 6 months passed in a whirlwind of business growth and personal discovery. The decision to cut off Amanda's funding had unleashed unexpected changes in my life. My company secured 3 major commercial maintenance contracts, including a high-rise downtown and a new hospital wing. I hired 2 more employees and moved the business to a larger facility. The financial publication for small businesses in our region featured Benson's Reliable Plumbing in their success stories section. Amanda's reaction to my letter progressed through predictable stages. First came anger with multiple voicemails accusing me of ruining her life. These were followed by messages from my parents alternating between guilt trips and thinly veiled threats about family exclusion, which rang hollow now that I had excluded myself. The second phase brought manipulation attempts. Amanda called crying about how she might have to drop out of law school, how her dreams were shattered, how she would be a failure in the family. I maintained my distance, recognizing the emotional tactics for what they were. The third phase was perhaps the most surprising. My parents attempted to shame me publicly within our extended family, telling relatives that I had abandoned my sister out of pettiness. This backfired spectacularly when 2 of my cousins reached out privately to share their own stories of family pressure and status obsession. "I always admired that you chose your own path," my cousin Michael wrote in an email. He had followed the family expectation to become a professor, but secretly hated academic life. "I wish I had your courage to pursue what actually interested me." As my business thrived, I found myself building new, authentic relationships. Several long-term clients became friends. I joined a recreational basketball league and connected with people who cared nothing about my occupation or education level. For the first time in years, I socialized without the constant undercurrent of having to prove my worth. In April, I met Sarah at a home renovation project. As the architect overseeing the work, she appreciated my attention to detail and problem-solving skills. When she asked me to lunch to discuss the project, our professional conversation evolved into personal connection. Unlike my family, she found my career fascinating and respected the knowledge I had accumulated. "You understand how buildings actually function," she told me on our 3rd date. "Most people never think about the complex systems that make their daily lives possible." I also began seeing a therapist to work through my family issues. Dr. Patterson helped me recognize patterns of seeking validation where it would never be given and establishing healthier boundaries. "Your success does not require their acknowledgement to be real," she reminded me often. In May, Amanda showed up unannounced at my office. I had just finished a meeting with a commercial property manager about a significant contract when my receptionist informed me my sister was waiting in the lobby. I almost told her to leave, but curiosity won out. Amanda looked different than she had at Christmas. The designer clothes and perfect makeup had been replaced by a more subdued appearance. Her eyes widened as she took in the professional office space, the multiple employees, and the wall of customer testimonials. "This is not what I expected," she admitted, as I led her to my office. "What did you expect? A dirty workshop with piles of used toilets?" I asked, not unkindly. She had the grace to look embarrassed. "I never really understood what you built here." Our conversation was awkward, but revealing. Without my financial support, Amanda had been forced to take out additional student loans and work part-time at the law library. The experience of actual financial responsibility had been eye-opening for her. "I am sorry about Christmas," she said eventually, "and for taking your support for granted." I appreciated her apology, but remained cautious. "What exactly do you want, Amanda?" She looked down at her hands. "The truth, I need money. But being here, seeing all this, I realize I never really saw you clearly, or your work." I considered her words carefully before responding. "I will not resume the payments. That chapter is closed. But if you genuinely need work, I could use administrative help in the office part-time, real work for real pay." The offer clearly surprised her. "You would hire me after everything. We are still family despite it all. But this would be a job, not a handout. You would answer phones, file paperwork, and learn how a business actually operates." Her initial reluctance was obvious, but 2 weeks later she accepted the position. The adjustment was not easy for either of us. Amanda had to learn basic office procedures and how to interact with customers professionally. I had to learn to be her employer rather than her brother during business hours. Gradually, something unexpected happened. As Amanda witnessed daily interactions with clients and saw the complex problem-solving involved in commercial plumbing systems, her perspective visibly shifted. She began to understand that successful tradespeople require intelligence, skill, and business acumen, just as much as any profession. 1 year after the Christmas debacle, I attended another family dinner, this time with Sarah at my side. When my father began his usual subtle undermining about academic accomplishments, I no longer felt the sting. Sarah squeezed my hand under the table as I calmly mentioned our company's recent feature in a business magazine. Amanda, to my surprise, added Benson just won the bid for the university's new science building. The competition included firms twice his size. My parents exchanged glances, clearly reassessing as they realized others valued what they had dismissed. The greatest change, however, was within myself. I no longer measured my worth through their approval. My success was tangible in the business I had built, the people I employed, and the genuine relationships I had formed. The freedom from seeking validation from those who could never give it was the most valuable thing I had gained. Cutting off Amanda's law school money had never been about punishing her. It had been about reclaiming my own self-worth and refusing to fund my own humiliation. In doing so, I had unintentionally given her something valuable too, a glimpse into a world where status symbols matter less than character and competence. I still believe every person deserves respect, regardless of their occupation. The plumber who ensures clean water, the garbage collector who maintains public health, the electrician who keeps the lights on, all perform essential services that keep society functioning. Success is not measured by degrees on a wall, but by the positive impact of your work and the integrity with which you perform it. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family who could not see your worth? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more journeys of self-discovery and personal growth. Do not forget to share with someone who might be struggling with family expectations or professional respect. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that sometimes the best gift you can give yourself is the courage to walk away from those who cannot appreciate your true value.